Hello, everybody. Today we have another episode of the How to Carnivore podcast and YouTube series. Today I'm very happy to be joined by my good friend Melissa, and I have really had to coax Melissa out onto the screen and into the public eye. Melissa and I have known each other since the 1st of August last year, so that's really, I don't know, 14, 15 months. And Melissa has been an incredible member of the How to Carnivore Challenge and is now our basically head of admin person. She knows everyone. She's in there running the show. And I thought it was about time that Melissa came on and shared her story because she has had an incredible health journey and she's a really, really amazing advocate and role model for so many people in this program. So, Melissa, welcome.
Thank you, Simon. I'm very humbled by everything you said, and he's very right. I am not good at this kind of thing. I'm much better behind the scenes in the admin department. So thank you for
But
having me.
no, my pleasure. So, Melissa, tell us about what was happening health-wise before you entered into the wild world of the carnivore diet.
Health-wise, things were not too great. I had my joints progressively were getting worse. I handled dogs for many, many years, and I found myself not only slowing down, but not able to maneuver like I used to maneuver. And it wasn't just my knee joints. My knees have always been bad, but I started feeling it in my hands, my shoulders, my elbows. And it just progressively became worse and worse. When I finally broke down and saw a doctor about it, I was diagnosed with severe degenerative osteoarthritis, which it is very ugly. If for those who have not experienced it, it's you don't even have to be doing anything to feel the pain. It just speaking of dogs, sorry about that. He's going to make a little noise while we're doing this. Um, it can hit you at any given moment, and your pain is normally on a scale from probably a 7 to 9 out of 10 on a regular basis without doing anything. So they advised me to go to the orthopedic surgeon, and I did. And he immediately told me, after looking at the x-rays of my shoulders and knees, I needed immediate joint replacements on both shoulders and both knees, which hit me like a Mack truck. That's probably the best way to explain it. And my first thought was, how am I going to walk my dog? It's the first thing that came to me. So I came home. I was pretty much resigned to the fact I wasn't going to do it. I was just going to sort of roll myself down a hill when the time came and let myself be barefoot in the springtime. That's where I was at. It was miserable, and it was very, very depressing. I had to retire medically because of the arthritis. I was starting to develop high blood pressure pretty quickly. I was pre-diabetic as well. And I came home, I discussed it with my husband, and bless his heart, he left it up to me and he said, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "Let me just do a little bit of research." I always loved to cook, and to be in a kitchen for 8 or 10 hours making ridiculous meals was very comforting and calming to me. And that was something I also couldn't do. But I could still watch videos on recipes and cooking shows. And one day I happened across Anita at Ketogenic Woman. And my first thought was, why is she in my feed? This doesn't even make any sense. I started watching her. She mentioned in one of her videos Dr. Chaffee and the carnivore diet, which sparked my attention because in college I pretty much lived on, we're talking 1980s, sardines and hard-boiled eggs. And I was in the best shape of my life and I could do anything at any time. Who knew about carnivore back then? It's just kind of the way it was. So I started diving down some rabbit holes and I did quite a bit of research. And what I did was I found 5 or 6 influencers on YouTube. And I thought, well, these are mostly doctors. Let me see what they have to say and then see if I could mold my life and my desires at that point to what they're directing. I watched several of them, and I was drawn to Dr. Chaffee because when I watched his very early on videos, his message never changed from day one to current. And that impressed me. I was also very impressed that there was no pushing of supplements or you have to do this or you have to buy this or anything like that. He was extremely humble in his approach. And again, the message never changed. It was the same, almost the same wording from day one to when I looked at it. I then found out about the How to Carnivore Challenge, and there was a lot of challenges and groups out there to join. And I thought I could really pay attention to what Dr. Chaffee has to say, just based on his demeanor. I knew I was going to join, and I started to think about it in March or April of last year. But I also know that I love my foo-foo coffee, and I would have 6 to 8 cups a day. And we're not talking just coffee, we're talking homemade whipped cream with all the foo-foo stuff on it. So I knew I could do carnivore. It was a matter of if I would. And I'm a very stubborn person who sometimes I get in my own way. So my biggest thing was setting myself up for success because I failed at every diet out there. One thing I've not addressed is my weight. And the reason I'm specifically not focused on my weight is because the weight is just a symptom of everything else that's wrong with me for treating my body like crap for 4 decades. And the things I ate on the run and everything else. So the weight is just, it's a symptom. It will heal when it heals. My main focus was, can I alleviate any of this joint pain at all? That was my main goal coming in here. So I got my mindset in the right place, and it was a matter of, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, I will do this, I will do it, I will do it. And on August 1st, I decided, let's go for it. And I'm not going to look back. I will commit for 30 days. I'm not sure what's going to happen at the end of the 30 days, but I'm going to make this commitment for 30 days. And I joined, and one of the most incredible people in the world was first welcomed me in was Shauna, who's still a member. And I consider her my biggest carnivore mentor. She is an incredible person, a wealth of experience, and she just made my journey almost seamless. And then I met you, I think the second week in, and I just found you extremely warm and you were understanding. And you didn't baby me either. You were like, no, Melissa, that's not going to work. Or, yeah, you might want to try to give this a shot. This is probably a better way to do it. And I need that. I need the look, this is how you need to do it. I don't need the babying and, oh, it's okay, things like that. So that's what really motivated me through the month was you, Shauna, and then the meetings with Dr. Chaffee, where he would just give the most incredible answers to these questions, which to this day, I don't know how he does it. He has the same questions a lot, and he gives that attention and focus to every single person who asks the question. So that's where I am. And now it's about basically paying it forward. I started to heal rather quickly. Within 15 days, I noticed my joint pain diminishing, and I thought it's got to be in my head. I've just prepared myself so much that now I'm convincing myself, oh, you feel better, you feel better. Well, my husband made a comment when I was coming down the stairs one morning, and he said, you know, you're taking those stairs 2 at a time, right? No, I had absolutely no idea that I was not hanging on to the railing like I always did. So the next thing was I was able to walk my dog, and I hadn't been able to do that in 2 years, sorry, which was huge, absolutely huge for me. Granted, it was only to the corner and back, but it was the first time I had my dog on a leash. And that to me gave me all the get up and go I needed to say, you know what, this is working. By the end of 30 days, I ditched the medications, all of them. Supplements, I had probably over $1,000 worth of supplements. Every supplement that promised less joint pain, you'll sleep better, etc., we had them. So they all got tossed. And the only thing in my cabinet right now are pretty much my plates and some glasses. So everything is carnivore focused. And although I still have a very, very long healing journey to go on, I'm okay with that. The one thing I did do, because I was going to prove you and Dr. Chaffee wrong, was on September 1st of last year, I did go back to coffee. because I thought they're so full of it. There's no possible way coffee can make this much of a difference. Literally within 8 hours of having that cup of coffee after being off of it for technically 31 days in August, I felt like I'd fallen down a flight of stairs. And it took me almost 6 weeks to recover from just going back to coffee again for a short time. And that's pretty much what I needed. So I cannot even say how thankful I am with carnivore. I mean, I can do chores in the house. I couldn't make a bed by myself. Um, going up and downstairs, there were some nights I couldn't even go up to bed to sleep. So this has literally been life-changing for me, and I cannot thank you guys enough.
Well, it's been our pleasure, Melissa, and thanks for sharing your journey so far. So if we can rewind back to August of last year, when you went from eating what I assume was a sort of standard American diet, but maybe give us a bit more color on that. And then you went
Sure.
carnivore. What did you start eating when you first went carnivore?
As far as standard American diet, pretty much my issue were the grains.
Okay.
Rice is my biggest thing. I've never been a big sugar person, so cake, sweets, and things like that, that's never been really an issue for me. I could take it or leave it. But the grains were where I was, I would have so much rice every day. And I was eating OMAD for most of my life, to be honest,
Wow.
because of my work schedule. I would work 12, 14, 16, 18 hours a day sometimes. So I would have one meal a day, come home, try to sleep. I've got a sleeping disorder, so that's a whole nother issue. And when I first went, what I did was just basically plan. I got ground beef, I got lamb, I had caribou in my freezer, I have a ton of salmon in my freezer. I live in Alaska, so I'm very fortunate. I get all the wild salmon I want. So I was ready to go. And I've always loved meat. So I knew that wasn't going to be an issue. I'd heard some horror stories about, well, I can, 3 days of meat, and I was just completely turned off to it. It's been 15 going on 16 months, I think, and I have yet to have any kind of aversion to meat. I may switch it up a bit. One thing I have found is I'll do different textures, because that is one thing I did miss coming from my regular meals of sometimes crispy rice or stews with the different textures in them. So what I did was I just started cooking things differently. If I wanted more crispy texture, I'd crisp up the meat more. Or if I wanted a soft something, then I'd throw some oxtails in the Instant Pot or something like that. But it wasn't hard for me to go from eating all those grains and everything to eating just the meat. I was satisfied. I was full. I have always pretty much done the bone broth because I do like having that warm cup beside me, depending on what I'm doing.
And you mentioned the sleep. You've had a sleeping disorder your whole life. Has that improved at all?
I am getting deeper sleep, but I'm
Okay.
not necessarily getting more sleep. And we kind of laugh when I share my sleep tracking. I have a watch that tracks my sleep, and my normal nights would be like an hour and 36 minutes with a score of 9. So we kind of laugh about it. But I am getting deeper sleep, and there have been nights where I've been like 6 to 7 hours. So that's great. It's normally only once a week, but I am third generation in my family with this disorder, and I've kind of come to live with it. And I know I've recently started wearing a CGM, and I know that sleeping is my last hurdle. If there was a week I could literally sleep for 8 hours a night, I can't even imagine what my CGM would show. It would have to be like crazy good, because I know that's my last hurdle. Everything else is all in place.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. And we've talked a bit about shoveling snow. Before you started this program, you were supposed to have four major joint replacements, and you couldn't walk down to the end of the street. How's the snow shoveling going?
Interestingly enough, okay, so I joined here August 1st, and I believe it was end of October or beginning of November last year when we had the snowstorm of the century for us. And we had almost 5 feet. I live on a hill, or on the side of a mountain. We had almost 5 feet at my house. And what was insane to me, and I can remember posting about it in school with pictures and videos and everything else, because I couldn't believe it was happening. My husband was on the slope. He works up on the North Slope in Alaska. So, of course, this happens when he's not here. And I thought, well, let me go out and see what happens. And I was able to move shoveling, now not a snowblower or anything like that, but just shoveling tons of snow. And I'm not saying tons to exaggerate. I'm talking literal tons of snow. And it was incredible. And I was so proud. I can remember calling Shauna and crying about it. I was so excited that you're not going to believe what I just did. This is crazy. So for me to go from not even being able to walk from my bedroom to the couch on some days. Now, mind you, I didn't shovel all these tons, in 1 hour. I was done with my entire property. This was over a period of a whole day, basically, with breaks in between. But what was even more interesting was the next day, I thought for sure I'm not going to be able to walk. I'm not going to be able to lift my arm to even get a glass of water. And I was a little bit sore, but it was that good sore that I can remember from the 1980s and 90s when I would work out and you'd be sore, you'd feel good from a workout because everything was working as it was supposed to. And that was the soreness I felt. And that to me was such a victory in itself.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. That's a really good visualization of how far you've come to be able to go out and do something practical and
Crazy.
also necessary when you live in Alaska, which is awesome. Um, have you been back to see any of the doctors or the surgeon who told you no, no need?
Nope. Nope. Here's the thing. If I, again, knowing myself, if I went back to, I have no need to go back to the surgeon, knock on wood, at this
Yep.
point. And I don't plan on it. I honestly would rather roll down that hill than let them replace my joints. And even if I were to get bad again, whether it's due to aging or whatever the case may be, I am 95% sure I still would not do it. I wouldn't choose to. I do have a regular doctor, and I have not been to her since before I started the challenge. But when I do have to go back for tests or
Wow.
whatever, I'm sure that she's going to be shocked because I got the whole, you're pre-diabetic, here's your blood pressure medication, here's your statins, which pretty much the statins I never took. I just sat them on the shelf. And I don't even think she said I had high cholesterol at that point. It was an age thing. Well, while you're here and you hit 58, here's your extra prescription. And what's interesting too is I do my blood work every month, the first of every month.
Nice.
And I'm able to do my cholesterol at home. My total cholesterol has yet to be over 300 since I started carnivore. And that's crazy to me because all I'm eating is meat and more meat. So for all of these people who say, oh, you can't eat the meat and it's horrible, for the people who say you can't do it if you have kidney issues, I have one kidney. I had a kidney removed back in 2002 or three, I think. And I have had zero, knock on wood, issues, none whatsoever. It's just been completely natural. And it's crazy to me. So if I do go back to my doctor, I'm sure we'll just have a laugh.
And another thing that you're really amazing at is reminding people that the progress is not linear and that often you'll sort of make a jump and then you'll plateau for a while and then you'll have another jump. How are you thinking about that now with your own progress 16 months in?
I still feel the same, but again, I did enough research. I am very good at going down rabbit holes. I do a lot of rabbit hole diving and researching because I
Yeah.
invest in myself. If I'm going to do something, I'm not going to do it just because Simon says do it. No pun intended on that one. But I'm not going to do it just because, Simon says do it. I'm going to look up, well, if you can't give me a reason, I'm going to look up what might a reason be. This has to be logical for me and it has to make sense. So I studying, you see all of these things about, oh my gosh, I lost, 400 pounds in the first 3 days on carnivore and it's a magic healing thing, et cetera, et cetera. And it's not. And to be perfectly honest, I don't even like calling it a diet. To me, it's not a diet. I didn't do this to lose weight. That's not my main focus. The weight's there. I earned it. I earned every darn pound that I carry. The first month I did have significant weight loss, and which was nice, but not my main goal. My main goal was I have so much less pain. I don't even care if I stay fat for the rest of my life at this point. If I can have this lesser amount of pain, thank you, Lord, I'm good to go. That's what made all the difference. The other funny thing is, so my husband went carnivore with me for a while. And what happened? Of course, he dropped weight like nothing. And listening to Dr. Chaffee, talk on the lives all the time, he's often said men will lose it quicker. And I don't think that's just carnivore. I think it's even just low carb or whatever diet a man jumps on first. They're going to lose that belly rather quickly, where we women are going to struggle. So I knew that coming into it. I knew that this was more about patience and healing. There is no magic elixir or no magic pill you can take. And for people that treat it that way, it's almost offensive to me, because it is a way of eating. It's a way of life. It's my journey back to health is how I refer to it. My decision to go carnivore was the start of my journey back to health. And I'm on that journey. And if I lose 100 pounds in the next year, okay, that's a bonus. If I lose 1 pound in the next year, guess what? It's the same bonus to me, because I still feel better. And I can actually live like close to a normal person. If I want to go out with my dog, I can do that. If I need to go shovel, I can shovel. If I need to just change the sheets on my bed, I can do it. I don't have to ask for help. And that makes it all worth it to me.
This is a healing protocol, and it's a natural human diet. And when you eat this way, you feel great, it becomes effortless, and things start to fall in place. But as you say, it's not a silver bullet. It's not a magic, lose 50 pounds overnight. That's not the idea. What would you say if people are doing the carnivore diet and they start to slip off track, or they run into a hurdle?
We deal with this all the time, and it's rather interesting, because I sort of had a goal in my head that I just won't do it. I have to make a conscious choice every time I go to eat or drink something. And I knew coming into this journey, August 1st, 2023, that I had to remain that way. So when I talk to people sometimes and they say, well, hey, have you fallen off? I have not, quote unquote, fallen off. I have done 2 tests since I got my CGM. I consciously made a decision to do it just to see. I did add very minimal carbs on one day, and I had coffee. I had my foo-foo coffee on one day after the CGM, and my blood glucose with just the cup of coffee and the foo-foo went from, I think it was 95 to 163. And I did that for years, all of the drive-through coffees at work and the foo-foo. What have I done to my body? I knew that I had treated it so badly for all those decades, but to actually see it in numbers, I was completely devastated and depressed about how awful I've been to this body. And I'm just like, I'm so sorry. Let me apologize to you. I'm doing better now. But that's what's been absolutely crazy to me is how our bodies deal with certain things. So one of the ways I explain it to people is if you're going somewhere to a new destination, whether it's a vacation, you're going to a friend's house, whatever, and you're driving, you start at your home and you're driving to see them. If you make a wrong turn, do you go all the way back home and start over? No, most of us pull out the map. Okay, I'm showing my age. Pull out your GPS or whatever. And you look at it and you go, oh, hang on, I turned left here. Let me go back 2 blocks. I have to turn right. You don't go all the way back home. So for these people that fall off, shall we say, or make a wrong turn, you don't have to get that mindset of, oh my gosh, now I have to start all over again. Oh man, it was so hard to start. You've already started it. You already know what to do. You just make that turn in the right direction and you continue on to your goal. And if you can wrap your head around that, I think that's really going to help because that's all it is. It's a series of choices to go in the right direction.
Yeah, 100%. People often don't realize how far they've come, and they'll say, "Oh, I ruined that month because I went off for a couple of days."
Yes.
I was like, "You ruined that month. For 28 out of the 30 days, you were carnivore, and you've never done carnivore before. That's a huge achievement. Now let's do another 30 days and nail the entire 30 days. It won't be that hard. You've already learned so much about what healthy eating is and what it feels like to be carnivore." So that's a really good message. Final question for you, Melissa. How do you, as now a sort of long-term carnivore and a role model for so many people, how do you encourage others to take control of their health and potentially give carnivore a try?
One thing I've learned, and this was from one of my good Aussie friends named Rod, he taught me to be the lighthouse, not the foghorn. And what I have, and I was a bad foghorn. Let's just be honest about this. I was you have to do blah blah blah. It's amazing, et cetera, et cetera. So I've learned to kind of sit back, and if someone will ask, then I will share what the benefits are. I will share videos, not just Dr. Chaffee's videos. I will share people's videos who can get the message across. For instance, I've had quite a few pregnant people, contact me and say, "Oh, what do I do about this, this, and this?" Let me get you straight to Kiltsy, to Dr. Kiltz, because he is the expert on that. He's carnivore. He's going to bring you to the place you need to be in with your mindset. I'm not a mom. I have dogs. Okay, so that's not my forte at all. If we have any pet issues, please, you can let me know. I'm
Yeah.
happy to help. Um, but I just tell them until you actually try it, you won't know. Give yourself more credit. If you make up your mind for just 30 days, whether you're 20 years old, 30 years old, I mean, we've got 80-plus-year-olds joining How to Carnivore on a monthly basis.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
crazy. And they come in and they're like, "Am I too old to start?" Absolutely not. You're never too old to get on that journey back to health. That's what it's about. You may only have 20 years left, or you may have 80 years left. Who knows? But let's try and live those years better than we've been living them. Let's get out of life what we can get out of life. It's too short as it is. So if we can do anything to support, I mean, even, if we can help just one person, that's what makes it worth it to me. To me, it's about paying it forward now for what you and Dr. Chaffee and Anita and Bonnie and Shauna have done for me. If I can just touch that one person, then you know what? All of these late nights and early mornings are worth it. That's where I'm at this point. Get me back behind the scenes. I do so much better than that. Please.
It's been good having you under the spotlight, Melissa. Well,
No, head hasn't, Simon.
thank
So
you
out of
so
my
much.
comfort zone.
Thank you so much for sharing your story, Melissa. And I'm really grateful to have you as part of the community. And I'm really grateful for how much effort you put into helping people and leading them on their health journey. So, Melissa, thank you very much.
Thank you, Simon. It has been an absolute pleasure. Love you to pieces. And thank you for all you've done for me. Now, please don't make me do this again. Okay, we're good.
One and done. Okay. Thanks, Melissa.
Bye, Simon. Have a great night.